This is commentary on Lesson 73 in the Workbook for A Course in Miracles. I will there be light. So, as I mentioned yesterday, we often come to our spiritual path when our life is not working, there's some seemingly impossible problems, we're in some sort of pain or anxiety, and immediately when we begin to start thinking along the lines of our spiritual path, we can get relief right away, and that's what it's meant to do. But as you go along on those spiritual paths, it begins to be more than that, and what it does is have us look deeper at the causes so these problems do not arise. And that's very different than having them arise and then have to deal with them, and they arise again and again and again, and we have to deal with them. What we really want to do is cut it off at the pass before they even begin to develop. And so the Course's procedure in that is getting us to recognize that all of our experiences are ones that are there because we want them to be there. And that's particularly hard to accept when you feel like you're in hell. It doesn't seem very kind to say that you're responsible for it. But if in fact we are the cause of our own problems and it is a function of what we want, then by realizing that, it's the only way we're going to make change. So let's just reference the text before we go through the lesson. This is in chapter 21, which is a lot about sane thinking as opposed to insane thinking. And for the Course's view, it's insane to believe that something else is responsible for what's happened to you when, in fact, you are responsible for it. And the basic idea is this dynamic of projection we've been talking a lot about, is that projection makes perception. And so here in this section, it's saying this is the only thing you need to do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin, all to be given you. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations, for here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. So as a student, then things like that, we just sort of have to begin as a premise, an assumption. We may not believe it, but we take it as an assumption so we can proceed ahead with the learning. And the good news in this lesson is reinforcing this idea that although things are a function of what you want them to be, if you look at that and see that's the case, you'll realize that you do not really want this misery that's happening to you, and that it isn't your will really to have it, but you've hidden this dynamic inside, and so it seems to be what you want. And there's that, going through that whole process is done throughout the whole course. So there's good news in this lesson in terms of what we really want and what really is our will. So let's go through it. Today we're considering the will you share with God. This is not the same as the ego's idle wishes out of which darkness and nothingness arise. The will you share with God has all the power of creation in it. The ego's idle wishes are unshared and therefore have no power at all. So the ego's idle wishes are unshared. This we began in the workbook of saying these are our private thoughts. This is just the thoughts that we have inside that are our personal egoic thoughts, and those are unshared by definition. So that's why they have no reality, because we share the mind of God. We are that mind of God. So it's the one mind. So that's why they're unreal. So its wishes are not idle, the ego's idle wishes, in the sense that they can make a world of illusions in which your belief can be very strong. But they are idle in terms of creation. They make nothing that is real. Okay, so that's the good news. It's not real what the ego is making up here. Idle wishes and grievances are partners or co-makers in picturing the world you see. The wishes of the ego give rise to it, and the ego's need for grievances, which are necessary to maintain it, people it with figures that seem to attack you and call for quote-unquote righteous judgment. These figures become the middlemen the ego employs to traffic in grievances. They stand between your awareness and your brother's reality. Beholding them, you do not know your brothers or yourself. So this is the grievances we've been talking, the clouds that we need to go through to get to the light. And these idle wishes are the desires, that the scripts that the ego writes for what the world should be like so we'll be happy. And of course, that's never going to make us happy, and then whatever we've set up with that ego script will fail us, and on some level the ego knows it, and so that it can have grievances. It can then blame somebody else for that fact. It's just another dynamic with it. So it's important to remember that the content that's in the mind, in the separated mind, if you think of it always in terms of sin, fear, and guilt, sin being it's not about your behaviors or that typical idea of it, but it means lack, and it's lack of love. That's what's meant by sin, and that's what we think we did. We left love and now it's gone. So there's this lack that we're trying to compensate for, this leaving love or believing we made it disappear, that causes fear and it causes guilt. Well, it's this lack that's called sin, and this fear from doing that, and then the guilt of it that we project out into the world. So that's how the ego handles its defenses. Projection projects the sin out in the world, projects the lack out in the world, projects the fear out there, and projects the blame out there. So idle wishes and grievances are the middlemen the ego employs to traffic in grievances. They stand between your awareness and your brother's reality. Beholding them, you do not know your brothers or yourself. Okay, so this is the clouds that are hiding the light in us. This is why we need to look at this and understand what it really means to have idle wishes and grievances. Because once we release them, then what's left is the truth, is ourself, is this light that's within us that couldn't be put out, that went with us in the separation. Your will has lost you in this strange bartering in which guilt is traded back and forth and grievances increase with each exchange. Can such a world have been created by the will of the Son of God shares with his Father? Did God create disaster for his Son? Creation is the will of both together. Would God create a world that kills itself? So this was the idea brought up yesterday, that if what we think of ourselves as a body, eventually the outcome to a body is death. And that in the ego's world is salvation, is death. The ego is self is what will save you, and its ultimate goal of death that will save you. And so there's this hidden idea inside that, the misery of life will end some point. I'll die, it'll all be over, right? That's it. That's the invention. That's the solution of the ego. That's what the ego offers us, is death. And knowing that, and even if it sounds outrageous, knowing that is what will get us to look at the grievances and see the dynamic of it and let it go. So today we will try once more. Let me get this straight up here. Today we will try once more to reach the world that is in accordance with your will. The light is in it because it does not oppose the will of God. Now this is the real world. It's the same world we're seeing now, but it's a world where forgiveness is our only experience. It's a world where forgiveness is always justified because we recognize this is being made up in the mind. All right, so the whole world will change if we change that idea in our mind. So the light is in it, that world, because it does not oppose the will of God. It is not heaven, it's not reality, but the light of heaven shines on it. Darkness has vanished, the ego's idle wishes have been withdrawn, yet the light that shines upon this world reflects your will, and so it must be in you that we will look for it. That's what we've been doing in all these lessons, is recognizing the dynamic of grievances, being willing to let them go, and looking for this light inside of us, this light that's in the mind, that doesn't have these two thought systems of the ego and the Holy Spirit in competition. We're just concerning ourselves with the Holy Spirit's thoughts, with its perceptions. That's where the light is. That is what the light is. Your picture of the world can only mirror what is within. The source of neither light nor darkness can be found without. Grievances darken your mind and you look out on a darkened world. Forgiveness lifts the darkness, reasserts your will, and lets you look upon a world of light. We have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between you and your salvation. The reason is very simple. Do you really want to be in hell? Do you really want to weep and suffer and die? So this is the power that's given us, is that when we look at our suffering, all we need to say, is this what I really want? Is this what I would see? And that's the beginning of making another choice, a choice that will change all of that, a choice that will bring us the love and the forgiveness and the peace and the joy and the happiness that we deserve, that we are. So forget the ego's arguments, which seek to prove all this is really heaven. You know it's not so. You cannot want this for yourself. Hell is not heaven. I mean, that's the ego's teaching, and that's why we will eventually release it. You cannot want this for yourself. There is a point beyond which illusions cannot go. Suffering is not happiness, and it is happiness you really want. Such is your will in truth, and so salvation is your will as well. You want to succeed in what we're trying to do today. We undertake it with your blessing and your glad accord. We will succeed today if you remember that you want salvation for yourself. You want to accept God's plan because you share in it. You have no will that can really oppose it, and you do not want to do so. Salvation is for you. Above all else, you want the freedom to remember who you really are. Today, it is the ego that stands powerless before your will. Your will is free, and nothing can prevail against it. Therefore, we undertake the exercises for today in happy confidence, certain that we will find what it is your will to find, and remember what it is your will to remember. No idle wishes can detain us nor deceive us with an illusion of strength. Today, let your will be done and end forever the insane belief that it is hell in place of heaven that you choose. Now, I've been reading this for years, these kinds of lessons, which says if you do this today, forever on, you can be free of these things. And I really think the Course means that literally, that you can make a choice today to recognize the dynamics of the ego and recognize the dynamics of the Holy Spirit and make a choice for the Holy Spirit and make a decision that that's all you're going to listen to. And from that standpoint on, the ego's voice is still there, but we're not fooled by it. And that's something that we have to do on our own. Nobody else can do it for us. God can't do it for us. Our higher powers can't do it for us. We have to decide to choose not to listen to the ego, to recognize we don't want the hell that it's giving us. So we will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition that God's plan for salvation, and only His, is wholly in accord with your will. It is not the purpose of an alien power thrust upon you unwillingly. It is the one purpose here on which you and your Father are in perfect accord. You will succeed today, the time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from idle wishes. His will is now restored to His awareness. He is willing this very day to look upon the light in Him and be saved. After reminding yourself of this and determining to keep your will clearly in mind, tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty, I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will in mine. Then let your will assert itself, joined with the power of God, united with yourself. Put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. Join with them as they lead the way. So that's the longer practice period. And here's the shorter practice periods. We again make this declaration of what you really want. Say, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. This should be repeated several times an hour. And it's most important, however, to apply today's idea in this form. Immediately, you are tempted to hold a grievance of any kind. This will help you let your grievances go instead of cherishing them and hiding them in darkness. So if we even did this once during the day, when the ego is running its game and we're tempted to blame something outside of ourselves or look for something outside of ourselves, same thing. Idle wish, grievances, same thing. We're looking outside of ourselves. Even if we're just, when we're tempted to do that, and we'll know we're tempted because we're upset and not have any peace, if we just stop that in our minds and let that go and realize that's not what I want, I will there be light, we'll have made tremendous progress. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.